In this section we're going to have a close look at valves, three-way valves, two-way valves. Way back in the 1970s and 1980s was boom time installing central heating in the United Kingdom. We left gravity hot water and pump central heating into fully pumped. The valve of the choice in those days was the three-way valve, and this would be put in small places, three-bedroom semis, even some village halls, for instance, all over the place. This was the valve. Then came two-port systems. Now the difference between the two is the amount of load we can put on the heating. The three-way valve has a 22mm inlet for the pump. Port A goes to the radiators, port B goes to the hot water cylinder. Now the cylinder has 3 kilowatts. The central heating has to have at least 16, but this port only gives 13 because we have 22mm, about 18. So that restricts the central heating load to only 13 kilowatts, which is not enough for a 3-bedroom house. And therefore, after a few years, the customer would complain that the radiator at the front of the house, which tends to be the largest, suddenly stops working. The engineer would turn up and he could see maybe it was balancing, stuck TRV, sludge, undersized pipework, in other words, too much 15mm, not enough 22. It could be any of those, but it would have been this valve. It was being strangled. Now, by changing the system over to a two-port system, we can now have up to 20 kilowatts of hot water. We only need 3. And in the radiator port, we can have again over 20 kilowatts. We only need 16 to 18. So therefore, this was a very good step up for larger properties. And I'm only talking about 3-bedroom semis, nothing really large. On top of this, we can now add a third valve if we wanted to. So we could have one for hot water, one for heating, and maybe one for underfloor heating. Maybe a garage is converted into an office or a playroom. So therefore that would have its own valve and its own thermostat on the wall to control it. That made a larger property even better to control and obviously cheaper to run. As well as that, we could also increase the diameter. So now we have 28mm valves, which would then take our heating load over 30 kilowatts, which is even better for 5-bedroom or even a small 6-bedroom dwelling. On top of that, this system can be used on a Combi. This we've done many years. We use the instant side of the Combi to power up the hot water to, let's say, the kitchen or the downstairs loo utility, and then the other valve would go up to a hot water cylinder, whether it's vented or unvented. So now the customer can have plenty of hot water, fast recovery, one valve for the central heating, and the rest of the house would run on the instant side. So again, even more savings and more comfort. And you could, of course, you can extend that to 4 valves in that sort of property where they could have an extension or a granny flat or whatever. So this is the way that we normally install systems now. It makes it much more controllable, cheaper to run, and solves many, many problems.